This is the Vegan Anarchist, and in this video, me and Aspie Anarchist or Aspie Media is on air right now. What's up, y'all? So, Aspie Media, introduce yourself. I've had you many live streams, but
yeah,
just a refresher.
Hello, I'm Bobby, aka Aspie Media or Aspie Philosophy, which is my latest YouTube channel. I am a high-functioning Aspie from Southern California. I am also a Marvel Comics geek, a philosophy nerd. I am very much interested in international politics, geography, biology, psychology, philosophy, that sort of
Israel
shit.
versus Palestine. So
Yeah.
Israeli, yeah.
Yeah, like it's funny because certain individuals have accused me of being a Zionist, which is funny because I have always made a clear distinction between the state of Israel and the Jewish people. I support the latter, not the former.
Yeah, a lot of anti-Semites tend to conflate Israel with the Jewish people, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And even like non-anti-Semites who are just really like dogmatically pro-Palestine to the point that they will not hear any criticism of Palestine.
And to be fair, there are Palestine. This Palestine state is a theocracy, or at least has theocratic element, and unfortunately,
Yeah, well,
they
both do. Of course, like Israel is more of a liberal theocracy, but it's still a fucking theocracy.
Is there even such a thing as a liberal theocracy? I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yes, there is. Like it, like it makes a lot more sense when you consider that that what we call conservatism here is what pretty much every other place in the world calls liberalism.
Oh yeah. Especially in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Those Aussies.
Of course, like even here, liberals are still conservatives, but they just don't realize it.
Yeah, I see most liberals as just a different shade of conservatives, and in not most, but a lot of conservatives are reactionaries.
Well, actually, like they're, like most American neoliberals or quote unquote progressives are actually more conservative in the classical sense than the neocons are.
Irony. Yeah, in American politics, a lot of terms lose all sorts of historical meaning. Hence, libertarian means Mises, Cato Institute, right-wing fundamentalist, market worship, not us, of course. The classical libertarians. Oh, by the way, shout out to that one viewer we have. It's off to a slow start, but a shout out.
What?
We have one viewer.
Okay.
Anyways, Wow, topic. Why is it? What is it with reactionaries and shitting on Star Wars like the Last Jedi movie?
um, um, like they shit on anything that has feminist themes, like um, or like that they see as pushing a quote unquote diversity agenda.
Yeah, I don't see what's wrong with diversity. It's the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
people who rant about the gay agenda.
yeah. Like I've always been um I've always been extremely pro diversity. I mean, that's pretty much the essence of what it means to be a, a Southern Californian. We're very diverse and we're proud of it.
Mm.
Like
Yeah,
we're one of the most diverse states in the US, and we're proud of it.
meanwhile, people in like Mississippi, no, not Mississippi, like white states, like what is the whitest state in the union? Someone gotta look that up.
Like
But
there's no such thing as a white state. There are states with majority
true.
white populations, but like like to call a state a white state is pretty much a capitulation to neo-Nazi rhetoric, just FYI.
Environment by white state is like the highest percentage of quote unquote white people, and by white people, like not like gringos, like basically because in the census they count Latinos as fucking white, even though yes, the white Latinos do exist, but they also count mestizos as white, unfortunately. So
Well,
even our
well, like, um, actually, like the majority of, the majority um, of people of Latin descent are actually quote unquote white people. Like people don't think that uh, because um the few brown Latin American um, pe- um Latin American people tend to get more exposure in the media because it's easier to otherize them that way.
mhm. Racial purity is bullshit. Yes, it is. But the old right don't care about facts, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, um, like I, it's funny because a lot of people um, a lot of people uh, complained that Bane was supposedly whitewashed in the Dark Knight Rises, but in reality, like if you like if you um like if you read the early comics with Bane, like he was a white dude. and um and had only like a slight tan, and like the more like the shaved head, exaggerated like venom muscles, and and shit like that, was was like was like a later retcon of the character that was sort of like meant to capitalize on the success of Batman the Animated Series, basically. And, as well as the fucking like luchador outfit, like all of that like shit. And it's also funny that a Central American slash British mercenary wears a Mexican luchador outfit in the comics, but which has led a lot of people to falsely believe that Bane is Mexican, despite him being half Central American, half English.
Yeah.
From the fictional island penal nation of Santa Prisca.
Yeah, a lot of characters also, like villains, tend to be colored as coded as queer. And so in fiction, a lot of times the villains are the ones who are the gay or the queer ones, or the mentally ill ones, or neuroatypical in some way.
Yeah, and also also Bane originally had like long reddish brown hair with a ponytail.
Not the shaved hair.
Yeah. And yeah, and his father was the English and his father was the English cult leader King Snake, whose real name is whose real name was was
What?
Sir Edmund Dorrance.
Mm-hmm.
And he first appeared in Robin #2, 1991. That's where Bane's father first appeared, and they were both created by Chuck Dixon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and like
But isn't Batman like an authoritarian character in itself?
yeah.
Like there is one character in the Batman universe in the DC called Anarchy, but unfortunately the writer later retconned it the character into an ANCAP.
Yeah. After yeah, like after the yeah, like after the writer himself changed his political views based on based on based on a magazine written by the founder of a philosophy called Neotech, which is basically which is basically like a more techie version of objectivism.
Yeah, speaking of objectivism, I hear people, whenever I'm in an argument with someone, they keep bringing up rational self-interest and what Stirner calls spooky ideas like rational self-interest. Why does that idea permeate our culture so much? Bobby? The idea of rational self-interest, or at least the phrase. This is an econ 101. It's like when you argue with people or talk to people, they bring up self-interest as an excuse of why socialism doesn't work.
Yeah, like the reason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Carry on.
Yeah, like the reason that yeah, like the reason that a lot of Americans and and capitalist and imperialist apologists talk about rational self-interest so much is because like a lot of American economic philosophy is heavily influenced by like
Neoclassicalism.
well like it goes back further than that. It goes back further than that. Like it goes back further than that, way further. Like it's like a lot of like a lot of the like a lot of like neoclassical ideas are basically used to make capitalist policies sound more rational than they actually are, but that's not what most modern so-called classical liberals actually believe in. Like, and like if you're and like if you've been in a conversation with these people for long enough, like eventually as I have, like eventually you're gonna hit upon the fact that if you scratch a far right person long enough, eventually you will find behind the false veneer of patriotism and moralism, they're nihilists at heart. They're philosophical pessimists at heart.
Oh yeah, like a lot of right wingers don't even want a better future. A lot of them be like, "There's no future. Men are destined to be fucked, and we're gonna kill each other, so we might as well be savages." That's their mentality. Like a lot of old right is rail against nihilism, and yet they come off as the biggest nihilists, at least tendency wise, of all the many different political philosophies tend to be.
Yeah, like like
There
they're
are ancoms who brag about being nihilists, but goddamn, those old rightists take it to another level.
yeah, and they and in fact many far rightist far rightist if like literally um consider um consider secular humanism and pretty much any philosophy really that advocates for self-improvement of human beings. Like they consider it an attack on human individuality, as if they um actually care about human individuality in any other area than their quote unquote right to be as racist, ignorant, and mean spirited as they want, and their and their
Mm-hmm.
um and their right to essentially oppress others who are different from them, which is the exact opposite of caring about actual meaningful human autonomy, by the way.
Yep. And then you see the old right going on a puritanical spiral of accusing each other of degeneracy and fucking now they want to re-implement coverture laws and make women property again. Like
Well,
the
that's pretty much been the their goal from the very start.
mm-hmm.
I
Well,
mean,
yes,
like,
some as
of
you or
course,
someone manosphere, yeah,
of
you
course, huh?
as someone who was in the manosphere, you would know. You as someone who was in the manosphere.
Mm-hmm. Of course, a lot of us thought thought that um like it was about the principles and like gaming journalism and the rights of men at the time we joined, but that was just the cover, really. Like it was just about treating women like shit and um and
So blissful melancholy.
Hi!
hi.
I finally made it.
Hello.
All right. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Bobby
Mm.
and I were just talking about his experiences in the manosphere.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
oh yeah, go ahead.
yeah, like the thing about the manosphere like is like most internet cults, they don't present you with their they don't present you with their meanest, vulgarest elements at the start. Like internet cults never do that.
Yeah.
Um like they like first they suck you in with false ideals about that seem fairly innocuous at first, uh, about like pointing out how how men are oppressed within modern society, and yeah, like there are a lot of areas where men actually are oppressed, and that needs to be addressed. But the thing is, the MRAs and the MGTOWs and the PUAs, they don't meaningfully address those issues. Instead, they exploit them to basically poison men's minds against the opposite sex. Like they actually do not give a shit about men, particularly men like myself or Samantha, who do not fit into their narrow ideals of alpha male masculinity.
Yeah.
Well, especially since that I realized I'm now actually a man and was never one to begin with. Yeah. Or neither do they treat trans men very well. They still see them as women, but they still see trans women as still men because they're transphobic as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for Barbara Rosa. She's weird.
Well, Barbara Rosa is actually one of the like more intelligent of the MGTOWs in my experience. Fucking Sandman, like he's a paranoid idiot.
Yeah.
But someone like Barbarossa is far more dangerous because he's still a bigot, he's still a misogynist, he's still an asshole, but he, unlike most MGTOWs, actually is somewhat rational, and that's more dangerous because people like that are able to make the more bigoted beliefs of MGTOW seem like they have a rational justification when they do not.
That sort of reminds me a little bit of Stefan Molyneux, and he has a lot of detractors even within the manosphere, people who think that he peddles a lot of wishy-washy bullshit, and even people in the manosphere who think that he's sort of a cult leader. But despite those detractors, he definitely has a charisma about him that manages to lure people in, and he.
Oh yeah.
And so I would argue that he's one of the most dangerous ones too, because he is one of the most like cultish, cult leader minded type people in the manosphere. And he is very charismatic, and it works. He gets a lot of people to come to his side by saying, oh, like, you're broken because you were, is something bad happened to you in your childhood. And so because of this, the solution is to disown all of your friends and family members and agree with every single thing that I say and follow the ways of the Molyneux.
Yeah, and yeah, and I was a fan of Stefan Molyneux for a while, but even when but even in my like early more right libertarian phase, I recognized very quickly Molyneux's hypocrisy and his cultish qualities, and this eventually led to a trend of recognizing more and more people with the same sort of cultish mindset within economic, quote-unquote, libertarianism, civil, quote-unquote, libertarianism. And I realized that this sort of a priori individualism kind of inherently and intrinsically lends itself to this sort of charlatanry.
Yeah.
Yeah, good thing it went for like LSR and Anarcho Pack. I would have became a MGTOW. Luckily, anarchism saved me.
Oh yeah. Anarchism saved me as well.
I think what got me going in the right direction was I was never like leaning towards wanting to become a part of the manosphere. I was sympathetic to like a few of their concerns, but not really the entire mindset. But like, so what was it? When I was maybe 21 years old, I considered myself to be an egalitarian. And then I was basically curious about why feminists called themselves feminists. And I was like, okay, well, one of their main claims is that there is a patriarchy. So I decided that I wanted to do a video project, like investigating, is there a patriarchy and what is the evidence? Now, I didn't end up finishing the video project because I was incredibly busy with college at the time, but I read about it for myself and I realized like, oh, I actually think there is a patriarchy. And then I kind of just, continued on from there. And I was sort of learned that, well, there are some legitimate concerns that some people in the manosphere have. Like, for example, there are cases of like abuse coming from women that is directed at men. That does happen. And
Absolutely.
And the fact that, men deserve to, as long as they're decent people, they deserve to have access to their children, to spend time with their children, and to be a parent. Again, as long as they're decent people. And I definitely agree with that. But I feel like a lot of them don't do actual, real, positive, impactful work to help men in those areas. And even like when they're talking about those issues, like some of the things that they claim are facts about those issues are not necessarily true, depending on the country that you're looking at. Like, for example, I've read something that, so one of the big claims in the manosphere is that men lose child custody battles more often than not, and that they are being legally deprived of access to their children by the court system. But I've read some things that say that the majority of child custody things are decided not in a courtroom, but with private litigation, I think it's called. And so it's basically like if it is a heterosexual cis couple, that it's like the man and the woman and the I think sometimes they have lawyers there, and they basically just discuss who is going to get the kids, and they don't have a judge there. And a lot of the time, the men, at least seemingly, voluntarily sign something that says, yes, the woman is like the primary guardian of the children in this relationship. Now, you can ask, like, why do they do that? Is it always a situation where it's completely consensual, or are the men like being pressured into it somehow? And I'm sure there are some cases where they might be pressured into giving up custody of the kids, but we don't really know why they do it. But what I know, at least in the United States, is that it seems like the majority of these child custody cases are not decided by a judge. They're just decided between the parents, like the man and the woman, at least, when it is a case where there is a heterosexual like relationship at play there. So.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And also like one of the main things that appealed to me about the MGTOW movement was like their like for a while I had been a tradcon or a paleo conservative, and I still had some of those leanings, but like those traditionalist but like those traditionalist elements were beginning to seem counterproductive to the to my personal political goals, which even at that time were somewhat progressive. And so and so like the fact that that the MGTOWs tended to challenge traditional conservatism that appealed to me. And also I was starting to become very skeptical of the institution of marriage at the time, just because well, for a number of reasons, one of which, of course, being my resentment of the neocon Christian fundies who insist that heterosexuals need to get married and no matter what, and I was really like radically pro-choice at the time, to the point I flirted with antinatalism at one point, actually. And of course, in Mendham also played a big role at that. And nowadays, like, it's very obvious to me that in Mendham has a lot of problematic qualities in his thinking and his behavior and his philosophy, but back then I wasn't as cognizant of that. I was pretty much your standard like pseudo progressive, pseudo libertarian, new atheist type of individual at the time. And so like I was somewhat conscious of the fact that there was a patriarchy, and somewhat sympathetic towards feminist issues, particularly compared to a lot of other people within the manosphere, but I basically considered myself an egalitarian, although in practice many of my beliefs and many of my actions at that time, in hindsight, served to hinder social equality. Which I only realized after I'd left the manosphere.
Yeah, sometimes, I don't know, sometimes it kind of takes like a popping of your bubble, so to speak, like the bubble that you put yourself in, and like exposure to different types of people and different thought to make you realize like, oh, maybe I was not really seeing every side to this situation, and the fact that maybe I was like very wrong about some things.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And that can be. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and another thing that very much appealed to me about the manosphere was the fact that they were preaching open-mindedness and tolerance of different perspectives, and how it's wrong to just censor and block people for having a different opinion. Of course, a lot of the bigger names in the manosphere are very hypocritical to say that.
Yes. Yeah.
But like I was not yet exposed to the hypocrisy at the time. I mean, I was to some extent with people like Rocking Mystery and Scotty M and Stefan Molyneux and Davis FJ Aridi, but I'm the type of person who gives people the benefit of the doubt, even where I probably shouldn't. And so, like I assumed, well, maybe this is just an isolated incident. Maybe not all of them are like that, and maybe not all of them were like that, but the vast majority were. And also their toxic masculinity was such that they were totally insensitive towards the problems of other men, where such problems did not personally affect the narrow spectrum of cis white hetero alpha males that they so idealized.
Yeah, they very their valuing of individuality in men is very few and far between. Like a lot of them like to fancy themselves these great individualists, but in reality, they want men to fit within a very narrow spectrum.
I'm so thankful that I didn't fall for Alex Jones and fucking Sandman.
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of MGTOWs have many of the same biases and prejudices as the very tradcons they love to put down.
Yeah.
The homophobia, the transphobia in many instances, and like Barbarossa's like not being that transphobic, it's not because he's a tolerant person, lest you be deceived in this way. He's not a tolerant person at all, and the way he carries himself and the way he speaks about like other people who don't think the way he does, like give that away. Like almost every other word out of his mouth is these manginas, these beta males.
God, yeah, I fucking hate that.
These blue pill and the funny thing is a lot of people within the MGTOW and PUA communities, like red pill philosophy and Barbarossa are partially of Latin American descent, yet they're white supremacist as fuck.
Isn't
Same.
Isn't Barbarossa at the same time a Christian Fundy and a transhumanist?
Yes.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, which is somewhat of a contradiction, especially considering like a lot of like end times conspiracy theories have to do with transhumanism.
Yeah, someone who watched Alex Jones a few years ago, I used to get scared of transhumanism. He would post videos and articles about transhumanist demons and shit like that. And
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about transhumanism, but from what I've read, I think it's very interesting and it has like some potential to be kind of cool, you know, obviously, but it also doesn't it sort of get into like the like technological aspect of like humans kind of augmenting themselves with technology too in some ways? Like, is that a part of it?
Yeah.
I was about to say that's cool, but it could also be potentially very dangerous because like the idea of like in the future, if I got some sort of cybernetic implants and then somebody hacking me like they do in the show Ghost in the Shell, that scares the crap out of me. That idea is terrifying to me. So
honestly, I'd rather be biohacked and live in a biopunk world.
Yeah, like
punk.
Yeah, like the whole the whole idea like I'm like I'm not like I am not technophobic or anything like that, but I do feel that that to a certain extent, like the biological aspects of being human are sacred to a certain extent, which is why I really don't like it when people put down men or anyone really for getting emotional.
What I'm excited about the whole transhumanist thing is, yeah, it could be very dangerous or very good. It's a double-edged sword, but at least it offers trans and other kin people other options other than just surgery and dysphoria.
Yeah.
Which is what preemies don't have, but unfortunately, humans haven't been really good at handling our technology historically, though.
Yeah.
That's something that we have always been sort of ethically behind relative to our technological advancements, which is why I and that's like the main reason why I am very cautious of new, and not to say that I think that it is inherently bad. I think that any technology can have good purposes, but right now we are at a state, unfortunately, where I think a lot of people, in some respects, are not necessarily ready for some aspects of some of this technology, and that we would have to be very careful about how we implemented it. So.
Oh yeah, and there's also and there's also like the whole in recent history, the whole Y2K scare, and fun fact, like the U.S. Air Force actually approved early in the Iraq War the creation of a counter-terrorist defense supercomputer called Skynet. So
wow.
so yeah, like the yeah, and also like certain corporations and military factories have created like prototype Terminators in real life. So
have you heard the rumors about, oh God, I can't remember who it was. I don't think it was it Elon Musk or somebody like that? There were rumors that like one of those big entrepreneur tech guys was designing a prototype Iron Man suit for the military. Which on one hand is kind of cool, but also bad because it's for the US military, because the US military is awful. It's like,
yeah, we could use that for revolutionary purposes. Fun fact.
Gotta seize those Iron Man suits.
Yeah, fun fact, Elon Musk is actually building SpaceX is actually building a space station in Brownsville, which is like 50 miles from here, right next to the Gulf of Mexico in Brownsville.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I don't know for sure that it was. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But of course, my astronomy teacher is talking like how Elon Musk is so awesome and stuff like that because jobs.
Yeah,
Elon Musk.
He's a capitalist. Then that's his main motivation is money, and he's kind of an elitist. And there were some other people. Again, I don't know if for sure that it was Elon Musk who was doing the Iron Man thing, but I know it was like one of the big like techie entrepreneur guys who was doing this. And from what I can see, all of them are at least a little elitist, and they're all capitalists. And it's not, yeah.
Isn't Elon Musk a big part of funding like this whole trend towards Islamophobia?
I don't know. I don't know that much about him in that regard. What have you read about that?
Yeah, because I heard that like Elon Musk and the Koch brothers, of course, and Enoch Powell tend to play a big role in basically like giving Islamophobes ammo. And like ammo and moral support and funding them.
Yeah, see, God, that's gross. I didn't know that about him. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. There are plenty of people in many spheres of life who think that they are these intellectual powerhouses who are big Islamophobes, unfortunately.
Sam Harris.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's not to say that Sam Harris has never said or done anything, you know, that was like correct, but a lot of these, like, you know, like Richard Dawkins too, like Richard Dawkins, he's done some really good stuff on evolutionary biology, but in many other ways he's a fucking asshole, and it's too bad.
Yeah, and also what another reason I don't like Richard Dawkins is he basically reinforces the idea that libertarian socialists are just edgy liberals, which is false.
Yeah, there's a big, I mean, like the economic philosophy, and not only that, but you have real world examples of libertarian socialists who either have in the past lived their lives or are now living their lives in a way that if you ask the majority of US liberals, hey, would you like be into doing what they're doing, they'd probably be like, I don't know about that. Like, for example, the oh goodness, what's the name of the group?
US liberals are about as liberal as dried milk.
That's true. They're but you know, like there are historical examples of libertarian socialists who, like, for example, you know, they, despite the fact that they ended up failing, like in, you know, Catalonia is a classic example, and just the actions they took, though, to at least try to make that work, actions that you wouldn't see liberals like taking those same actions or even attempting that kind of thing. You have the people in, I forget, I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Is it Rojava or Rojava?
Yes. I mean, it kind of depends on it kind of depends on the region on the region you're talking about. In Central America, it's pronounced Rojava, but
Okay.
in North America, it's pronounced Rojava.
Okay. Oh, you're robot voicing a little bit. I think the connection is, do we want to try disconnecting you and reconnecting? Because I think that's the only way we can fix it. Let's see. This happened with Kevin Logan when I was on his stream recently.
Yeah. Bobby's gets good and then it goes crap, and then it gets good and it goes crap. It's just, so it would just get good again.
It's all right. We'll be here if you can figure out a way to fix it. Seize the memes of protection.
Bobby also knows a lot about objectivism because he's had the misfortune of arguing with objectivists. They seem to be women worshippers. And there's still objectivists on the internet, even though I never hear from them ever again.
Yeah, what makes me like sad is that I feel like, okay, so first off, like Ayn Rand, I think was very much wrong about the majority of things that she said, but I think every once in a while she came close to being almost right on something. Like, for example, well, like the idea of, it depends on how you define like selfishness too. But so like a lot of people know that she very highly valued selfishness. And there are some like, you know, positive arguments that basically self-care and being a little selfish once in a while is not necessarily a bad thing. But she sort of took that to an extreme where it didn't just mean looking out for yourself. It meant like sort of excessively going out of your way to do things that you feel benefit you, and also purposely screwing other people over, or being fully aware that you're screwing other people over and not caring, and like just basically wanting to get excessive resources and excessive privileges in life at the expense of other people. And I can't approve of that sort of way of thinking or lifestyle, philosophy, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, the idea that like some selfishness is good, I don't think there's anything controversial about that. But yeah, she took it to a level that was kind of ridiculous and gross. So
yeah. Oh God. And then there's the egoists and Stereotypes. Constantly shit posting. Seizing the memes of production.
Yeah, that's me all the time. I have too many memes on my phone. I actually am running out of room on my phone because I have so many memes on it. It's kind of bad. I have a problem.
Okay.
Hey, Bobby.
Yeah,
Hey.
I'm not really a fan of meme culture personally.
Some of meme culture can be problematic, but I don't know. I think some of it's sort of like my version of the funnies, you know, things like that. It gets me through the day. It just helps me like decompress and disconnect a little bit from the world.
Yeah.
Once in a while.
Fem memes are awesome. Occasionally edgy memes, but they get stale fast. It's the wholesome memes that have stayed fresh the whole life cycle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like yeah. Like
Also, and you know what end caps and pizza cutters have in common?
What?
They're all edge, no point. I literally stole that joke from Total Freedom.
Where did you hear that? That's fantastic.
From
I'm gonna
some
have to steal
anarchist
that.
YouTuber called Total Freedom.
That's so funny. I'm gonna have to look them up. I like that. I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like yeah. Like I can't. Like I've like I've been like I've been an emo for years, and like I can't stand like toxic poser emos like Piper. I just can't.
Yeah, they've been having a feud with Piper and her girlfriend Katya. Let's not bring that feud here, Bobby. It's
I know, but it's just so frustrating. Like hypocrisy has always been my Achilles heel.
Hypocrisy can be frustrating, and a lot of people have some level of hypocrisy, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, especially in Light and Ninja.
Yeah.
Or we should call him Mancom because he's still Mancom despite how many times he pretends to be enlightened.
Yeah. Yeah, like he's like Mancom has always been in Mancom and Ninja have always been like this weird ass mix of anti-intellectual and pseudo-intellectual.
The whole thing is
which is very common in like alt-right leaning people.
And then Ninja is really good friends with a bunch of white supremacists, and then fucking
That's because he is a fucking white supremacist.
Yeah, he says white supremacist shit all the time, and then denies that he's a white supremacist and that and pretends to be an anarchist.
Yeah, and whilst he doesn't outright deny the Holocaust, he minimizes it all the fucking time. Like,
and he's also a transphobe and an ableist. I've been in those rants; they're really uncomfortable.
Jeez.
Yeah,
that sort of reminds me of Shuan Head, because she's friends with Lauren Southern, and I guess recently, I don't know who this other person is, but people were talking about on Twitter how I guess she's friends with this other person, or not that she's friends with them, that she like promoted something of theirs, like, and that I guess this person is really problematic in some aspect. I don't know about that, but I know about Lauren Southern, and I'm just like, how can you be friends with her? Why? Why would you want to be?
Yeah.
It's kind of like Caitlyn Jenner with the Republican Party.
Yeah, like Ninja at one point actually posted it would be compassionate to I think it would be compassionate if we did eugenics against low functioning autistic people.
Yeah, he and Mancom or Enlight. I was in that conversation. It was really uncomfortable as fuck.
Yeah, and like Mancom like like defended him despite being on the spectrum himself.
Jesus.
Like Mancom is one of those. Mancom or Enlight is like one of those. Like he used to be pretty cool, and he used to like stand up to ableist bullies, but then like after like he's always been somewhat shitty, but like after he met Ninja, like his shitty qualities just got worse and worse, and his more redeemable qualities got fewer and pushed down more and more.
Yeah.
Yeah, like because Ninja's one of those people who considers like any level of like tolerance towards any sort of ideas that sound even remotely intersectionalist or politically correct to be beta
And liberal.
Oh yeah, like he called pretty much any anarchist that disagrees with him a liberal, even though like a lot of his arguments against Antifa are classic like neoliberal arguments.
Oh yeah, and Rose can testify. Rose was part of the cult too before we left.
Mm.
And so is Piper.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you're both like out of that now, just because, yeah. Then I wouldn't have gotten to like be friends with you. That would be sad.
Yeah, Mancom went from an LSR sycophant to a ninja sycophant.
Mhm.
I mean, like the thing about LSR is like LSR knows a lot more about like anarchist history and philosophy than a lot of modern anarchists. But like his reading of anarchism in some aspects is very narrow and like doesn't really get into all the meat and nuances of the philosophy, which makes him good for like getting young people and like more moderately leftist people on board with anarchism, but doesn't exactly make him that good at examining like all the nuances and all the historical grounding, particularly like the pre-workerist anarchist history.
Mhm.
Did any of you see the picture of Andy Warski with Lauren Southern?
No, I didn't.
Someone in the comments asked that.
Yeah, I have not seen that, but it doesn't surprise me with the route that I've heard he's been going down recently. And you probably both know that, like, what, maybe a month or a month and a half ago or something, like I was on his channel because I wanted to talk about non-binary issues, and I sort of like wanted to be there because I knew that somebody else was supposed to be there, but if it basically, like, if I wasn't going to fill in, it was possible that nobody would be there to sort of counter those viewpoints, like except for Demotivator Opinion, who is a good guy, but he is also not non-binary. So, you know, he doesn't really know everything about it. And I wanted to like maybe try to have even an inkling of a positive influence on Andy. And it felt like for a second I did. And then later I hear about him going down this like race realism bullshit rabbit hole. So, but it's a shame. It makes me sad.
Yeah, like
race realism isn't even realistic.
No, it's not. No.
And yeah, like I commented at one point, Andy Worski makes me embarrassed to be an American and Polish descent like him.
You know what's horrible? Like when I got YouTube partnership, and when I posted this video and the last one I posted on immigration, YouTube keeps demonetizing my videos.
That's
and yet it's
crappy.
supposed to be right wingers who are being censored. I'm like, motherfucker, I can't even do an anarchist hashtag while getting or keyword search without being demonetized.
Yeah.
Ruben, his socialist video got demonetized, and fucking he then he uses that to bash us and say how we're privileged. I'm like, no, that's the opposite conclusion.
Right. The only channels it seems like that are not getting demonetized for controversial content is like the big TV networks. Like if you look at like say
CNN.
Like CNN or like NBC or anything to do with like any of the late night shows like Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, they can say whatever they want because they're part of a big like TV network. And, you know, you bet your ass YouTube isn't going to demonetize some shit from like NBC or CBS or ABC or something like that. So, I mean, that's something that annoys me, that just because like they have that status of being sort of part of a huge network that they get to keep that. But, you know, it's...
Yeah, us content creators are basically the proletariat of YouTube.
This is an argument I tried to make with people before, and there are people that disagree with me on this. So basically, if I think it logically follows that if you are a person who is on YouTube and you are making money from YouTube, if you are making a living from YouTube, then you can obviously make the argument that YouTube is your job, or it might be one of your jobs, correct? But the question is, like, what kind of job is it? And there are some people who are saying that you can't compare it to like freelance jobs, or that and there are some people that have made the argument that if you have a channel on YouTube that you are a business owner. I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate either, simply because you can, I don't know, it depends on how you define like business, because YouTube, as like the owner of the platform that you're using, can take those privileges away from you at any point. If you're a business owner in the traditional sense, that generally speaking does not happen. Like you have, except for like, if you disregard the issues of like running out of money and having to go bankrupt, if you are a business owner, then you generally have the power to do whatever the hell you want with your business. You don't have that power on YouTube. So I don't think that the traditional label of business owner is applicable to YouTube. I think the closest thing that you can come to, as far as like a definition of what type of workers are, if you're a YouTuber who makes money from YouTube, is that you're a freelancer. Because the word freelancer is, well, it's sort of like a vague umbrella term, but the point is that YouTube is weird because there is really nothing else like it in the world that I know of that you can make money from. I've tried to compare it to Lyft and Uber. It has some similarities to Lyft and Uber, but even those, like if I'm being honest with myself, it's not entirely similar to those either. It's very much its own entity. So like if you're trying to fight for your rights as a content creator on YouTube, it's very difficult because it's a very like novel thing. There's no other job like it in the world right now that I can think of. And so like legally speaking, if you were trying to like fight for your rights as a worker through legal means, I mean, you know, there are some people who are interested in forming content creator unions, which is great. And that could provide some headway in basically figuring out like what your rights are as a content creator on YouTube. And
right.
you know, there are also some states, like I've heard that New York State I think New York State is actually one of the only states in the country that has sort of an outlined list of like freelance workers' rights that are designed to protect freelance workers. But YouTube is strange too, in the regard that like traditional freelance workers get to sort of haggle for the price that they're paid in exchange for their work. But the agreement that you go into with YouTube is far more loose and not explicit, and you don't get to haggle. It's just determined, you know, by the ads that are placed on your video. And so YouTube gets to determine all the prices, but you're also not an employee of YouTube. So you're not a traditional employee, but you also don't fit the traditional freelance definition. So you're in this really strange gray area that has never really been seen before in the working world. So I think it's really fascinating, but also really frustrating.
Oh, look, Blissful, one of my followers tweeted this at you, at us. Who wants to learn Andy Warsaw? Or Warski, sorry. But, yeah. But honestly, though, freelancers are still working class. YouTube is still making money off of our work. In my case, not really, because I don't put much work to my videos, to be honest. I just rant at a camera and do a little research, but like fucking some content creators take hours to even edit and do a single shot.
Yes. And you also in the process are making YouTube money. So, and the fact is that without the content creators, YouTube would not be what it is today. Because
actually, to say such gray areas have never been seen before in the working world is
never that I've seen.
Is historically inaccurate. Like in fact, during economic depressions and during like most economic depressions in history, and also during the late Industrial Revolution period, most occupations existed in such gray areas.
Okay, fair enough. But I guess I was also mostly I was also kind of referring to the technological platform aspect of YouTube, in the respect that they sort of provide you a unique platform that that combined with the other elements that I talked about makes for a very unique situation. And people sort of like, because they say, you know, there's this very common mentality of like, oh, it's just the internet and things like that. People don't consider YouTubers who spend hours and hours using expensive editing software, cameras, computers, and probably a lot of techniques that they either spent hours upon hours teaching themselves, or some people even went to university to learn these techniques, or some people like went to workshops to learn these techniques, that people don't consider them to be legitimate workers. And they say like, oh, like, you know, you're just doing this, you know, like voluntarily of your own free will, so YouTube doesn't owe you anything. And it's like, but YouTube wouldn't exist on the scale that it does without the more massive YouTubers who make them the bulk of their money, such as like people in the past, like Zoella, PewDiePie, people like that. So, and you know, I'm not trying to say that they're necessarily like the peak of great YouTubers, because I don't think that, but the point is that they, for example, are like, they are the people like that are the reason that YouTube probably makes as much money as it does. And yeah, it's, and you know, like, legally speaking, you have to classify YouTubers as something. So what are you going to classify them as? Freelancers. There's really like no other option. And if you're going to classify us as freelancers, then you have to look into the possibility that freelancers, by and large, deserve some rights like any other workers. And it's, yeah.
Well, to be fair though, not to Google or YouTube, for a long time during the late 1800s and the early 1900s, union strikes were illegal and often put down with force. So even though we're not, you know, legally benefited by concessions, we still don't have to worry as much about, like, you know, the government raiding our houses and shooting us. And they still manage to win those rights.
That absolutely, and it's really important and good that we managed to like gain those rights. And I'm not trying to make the argument in any sense that YouTubers as a whole are somehow this like underprivileged class or something like that, but like, if you are somebody who puts a large amount of work into your videos and then you're just sort of dismissed as like some person on the internet who doesn't matter for shit, then I also don't think that that is like the correct way to look at things.
Oh yeah, and many YouTubers, especially political ones, have sacrificed a lot in their lives. Like, I almost got an internship, but at the last minute it was canceled because the instructor thought that my views would have caused problems, because, well, being an anarchist and all would kind of cause problems. And you get like that in the real world. Like, people wouldn't want to hire someone like me, or at least not as much. So I have to hide my YouTube videos or work at a co-op.
But then there would be other people who would come back at you and argue, but like, oh, but you didn't like have to post those YouTube videos, so that's like sort of your own fault, which I disagree with. But there are people who would argue that, because I think that YouTube is a platform where people should be able to express themselves. You know, obviously, as a left-leaning person and an anti-fascist, I sort of draw the line at fascists and Nazis and things expressing their opinion on YouTube. But I think that the idea that your employer can deprive you of work because of views that you have expressed on YouTube, I have like a big problem with that, you know.
Me too.
So
me too. In fact, like I've often been accused of racism for making arguments of that nature, which for anyone who knows me is just ridiculous. I mean, like you'd be hard pressed to find a more unapologetic advocate of multiculturalism and a fiercer opponent of border control than me.
Yeah, I just made a video called "Fuck the Borders," and YouTube, of course, just demonetized it. And you would not believe the comments I got. That one guy literally. Well, you should check out the. I'm gonna have to read the comments. It's just I got a few comments that were people threatening to beat me up within the first few minutes of uploading the video, which is fun because I get to report them. And then I also got another comment. Apparently, let's see. My channel is yeah.
Also, most of my ancestors were immigrants, so that makes and several of my ancestors were also Holocaust, and a lot of more survivors. So that makes me even more offended at the notion that I would be in any way in favor of any form of racial discrimination because my ancestors have been subjected to such things historically.
Oh yeah. Let me share screen. Share screen. So I have a lot of tabs on, so y'all better.
That's like, oh my gosh, I relate to that too much. I have too many. Well, I don't right now, but I usually do. I usually have a lot of tabs.
Well, look, I guess the ice ages are gassing the spices. Laugh your face. And then do they starve them and deny them clean water? Actually, yeah, they do. They put them in cattle car and ship them around. Yeah, actually, they do. They actually do make them do hard labor. The immigrants, the undocumented people, they're called fucking private prisons. That's what they do there. And then, of course, he said, you sure make an absolute mockery of the Jews that died in death camps. And then yada yada about how multiculturalism is bad. And, oh, I grew up in a Mexican neighborhood and they're fucking lazy. I'm like, motherfucker, half my family are Latino. And they're not. Okay, shut up.
Yeah, God, stereotypes are fucking garbage. And like,
yeah.
If it weren't for the Latinos, you wouldn't have any vegetables at your fucking grocery stores. So shut the fuck up.
Yeah, like absolutely. Like, and
oh God, like I have so many like videos on my other channels devoted to deconstructing stereotypes and so many comments talking about why so many stereotypes are bullshit and like just my very existence is evidence of how much stereotypes are bullshit because I'm from Southern California. I grew up in the Valley. I was born and raised in the San Fernando Valley, but I'm not materialistic. I don't care about super malls. I'm anti-capitalist. Granted, I wasn't anti-capitalist at first, but but like even when I was a liberal, I still believed in the necessity of regulating markets, even before I became convinced of the necessity of abolishing them altogether.
But the real question is, do you like pizza with broccoli on it? That's the real important. Like, do you
pizza with pineapple on it? Pizza and pineapple goes good. Shut up, your so's the other way.
Yeah, I used to when I was younger. I had a Hawaiian pizza. I don't eat ham anymore, but if there were some sort of like vegan vegetarian ham, I would try that ham. So like the fake ham.
I am a strict I am a strict pepperoni and cheese onlyist, okay?
Okay, Bobby, you don't want to say that a vegan. Well, at least I'm not like those typical vegans, because honestly, most vegan YouTube sucks. That's why I don't make vegan videos as much as I should.
Well, like Samantha, like Samantha, just like do you, okay? Like don't like, I know this is somewhat ironic coming from someone who makes who like makes a lot of videos about being an Aspie. I get that, but like you shouldn't like devote all of your identity to your vegan lifestyle.
I don't, but I do practice it every day, though. So
sure, and that's important. And I mean, that's an important part of your life. I mean, I think that if you want to do, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that I was feeling a little alienated from the mainstream vegan community after the whole freely enduring bullshit and unnatural vegan and all the toxicity and vegans going Nazis.
Yeah, I've heard about some of that stuff, but I could also make the argument that maybe that's like all the more reason for you to talk about it, to sort of like give people an example of like, hey, not everybody in the vegan community is toxic. And,
true,
you know, and if you want to make videos on it, then I think you totally should. You know, you got to find your own way of going about it. And you're going to have your own style that is not going to be unique to anybody else. And that's what's great about YouTubing, I think, is sort of figuring out what your own style for your own channel is. And also I think that if you really enjoy YouTubing, at least as much as I do, that it can sort of help you grow as a person in your real life too, and figure things out about yourself that you didn't really know before. So that's just me being a huge YouTube nerd, but you know, it's...
Yeah, I mean, YouTube has definitely helped me embrace my fiery side. People who watch my videos can tell I'm pretty fiery at times. So,
yeah.
I mean, of course, there's Mexi and a privileged vegan making vegan type content, but I don't know, Mexi, I don't know if she's a tanky or not. I don't know about her, though.
Yeah, I don't know a lot. I've seen some of her videos, and I like a lot of like what she's put out, and I'm interested to see what she will in the future. But as far as like what the video she did with Bad Mouse, that was, you know, kind of boring.
And her relationship or friendliness with the Finnish Bolshevik, who strawmans the shit out of anarchists as a narco pack, as Zoe pointed out.
I saw somebody post on an anarchist Twitter. I can't remember who it was, but I thought it was really funny. They were like, the Finnish Bolshevik is objectively the worst YouTuber, worse than Jason Unruh. And I was like, whoa, that's a big, like, that's a pretty, like, huge insult right there. I'm curious. Like, I haven't seen... but I don't know. I haven't watched enough of the Finnish Bolsheviks channel to like decide whether or not that's true.
Well, like the thing, the thing is, like, Jason Unruh may mock anarchists a lot, but he at least is willing to be charitable towards anarchists some of the time, whereas like the Finnish Bolshevik is so fucking toxic and such a fucking like huge ass tanky, and he's so in denial about it, by the way, too.
That's so weird. Like, why would you? Huh. Sorry, go ahead.
And like he has literally devoted like most of his YouTube career to fucking like wrecking anarchists and like basically equivocating anarchists with fucking fascists and neo-Nazis because of some like shitty comments that early anarchists made way back in the 19th century when anti-Semitism, misogyny, and pro-patriarchal views were more commonplace in fucking general.
Yeah.
So yeah, like these 19th century early anarchists who didn't speak English, but had to be translated into English but had to be translated into English later in life, or later after their deaths, rather. Said some toxic shit. So clearly that proves that anarchists in general are equivalent to neo-Nazis.
That's, yeah. I might have to watch some of the Finnish Bolshevik now and try to see if I can,
according to rational skeptic logic, we're the same as ISIS. Because horseshoe theory.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. I never knew. I must be ISIS, I guess.
Oh yeah, I'm so like ISIS, man.
Yeah, because I'm so sure ISIS is big on separation of church and state. Hates they do hate actually they don't hate imperialism, they hate Western imperialism, but want to replace it with their own imperialism, which isn't really serious anti-imperialism at all. It's just hypocrisy.
Yep. It is hypocrisy and hot garbage. Pretty much. It's one of my favorite phrases recently is hot garbage. I'm just using it to like describe everything. So everything I don't like.
Who's that Downey talking? Is that ableist slur?
What is it? Where is it in the? Let me see.
Live chat.
Let's see here.
That sounds like an ableist slur.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me too. I clicked off of the page, so I'm about to go try and see
apparently this. From social democrat / left libertarian, aka, that's a contradiction. You can't be both a sock dem and a left libertarian. The real boy. That's a different guy, but no, you can't. You're not. Fucking Kyle Kalinske. Fuck him, man.
Yeah, that guy. Oh my god. Like, yeah, I made a video on him ages ago about how he does not understand, nor does he care to understand non-binary genders, and so fuck him.
Yeah, like he doesn't really understand neurodivergence either. he pretends to, but like, yeah, like there are certain like views he expresses where he kind of subtly flirts with ableism.
Yeah,
Like there's a lot of problematic views that Kyle Kalinske has that he subtly flirts with, but like doesn't express as openly, which it's kind of hard, like figuring out which is worse, like the explicit brazen ableism of someone like Ninja, the um the um the aggressive internalized ableism of someone like Mancom, or the implicit passive aggressive pseudo compassionate ableism of someone like Kalinske.
Yeah, I mean, it's all bad, you know, it's all part of the same pyramid of shitty behaviors and thought processes, but I don't know, I guess you could technically argue that maybe like some of it is slightly worse than some other things, but the point is it's all bad, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure that person, I was just looking at the chat, and I am pretty sure that person who posted that stuff was posting ableist slurs. So yay, delete. Yeah, I see you deleted those, so that's good.
Yeah, ableist motherfuckers get banned. Your frozen peaches aren't welcome here.
Yeah.
We don't accept your frozen peaches as currency.
Frozen
we don't
peach.
accept currency at all.
I made a tweet that a while ago that I thought was kind of funny, and Steve Shives liked it, so I was like, well, if Steve Shives liked it, then it must have been funny. So it was, I just said something about the fact that that frozen peach, or what is it, freeze peach is inferior to fresh peach. Fresh peach is better, and fresh peach like is more filling than freeze peach. It was just really like a weird like tangent about my preference for like fresh peaches, and I don't know. I do weird things on
Twitter. Social democracy and left libertarianism can work with each other. No, social democrats get the bullet.
Yeah. Yeah, like as someone who used to be a social democrat, like the thing about social democrats is they're not really like like seriously socialist or seriously pro-democratic, despite their name suggesting otherwise.
Social democracy is a scam perpetuated by capital. It will just degenerate to neoliberalism and into fascism.
Like social democracy literally is the result of neoliberals taking like aspects of Marxism and Trotskyism and basically assimilating them back into capitalist culture. So
it's interesting that
it's literally not even remotely socialist whatsoever in any meaningful sense.
It's interesting that you said that that social democracy would probably like degrade into neoliberalism because and then like fascism because
it's the result of historically speaking, it's the result of neoliberals, like not the fake neoliberals today that that call themselves progressives but really aren't at all. Like I'm talking about the real historical neoliberals, who actually understood what the fuck actual European neoliberalism was, and and that like neoliberalism means the collusion of corporate and state power.
Mm. Well, I was just thinking it's interesting because I've heard that, I've read some things about how, on one hand, in the United States, the younger generations are slowly moving further and further left. But in Europe, in like some social democratic countries, the opposite is kind of happening, where the younger generations are more reactionary to their social democrat parents, and they are moving further right. And it's sort of in response to the global refugee crisis, as well as like basically white people not knowing how to handle like multiculturalism and people who are not white moving to their countries. And
by the way, the countries they're moving away from are the countries we fucked up to begin with. So they kind of have an obligation. Well, America does too.
Well, the thing is, like the so-called refugee crisis or migrant crisis, it's like the source of it, the source of it is not being properly assessed. Like the source of it, the reason so much of like white supremacism is on the rise in Europe, which is, by the way, the same reason that white supremacism rose in Europe in following the end of World War I and the beginning of World War II. Like Hitler basically just took advantage of it, but like he wasn't the primary cause. Like he just came at the right time when this streak of anti-Semitism and fear of like large-scale immigrants and Germans losing their culture, which is rather ironic considering Hitler himself was Austrian originally. But yeah, like Hitler basically came around at the right time when to exploit the fears of the German people and basically work them up and rile them up into a frenzy to make them easier to control with these xenophobic ideas. Like most totalitarian leaders who exploit these xenophobic ideas, like it's not that they don't hold these xenophobic ideas themselves. They do, but they don't tend typically to hold them to the same extent that their followers do, because typically the elites are more well educated than their followers.
Yeah.
And that's by design.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Bane as social democrat on whether or not us left libs should work with sock downs? I don't know.
I don't know. I have a lot of like mixed like feelings on this subject, and it's something that I don't know if I'm like mentally prepared to like fully articulate them right now, but
I mean, I'd rather deal with a sock dem any day than fucking like millennial wolves or Sargon.
Yeah. Well, like I have well, I like Democratic Socialist 01, but like he's a classical Democratic Socialist, not really not really like one of these neo-social democrats that I used to be. So like back when I was basically just an edgy neoliberal statist who thought that like socialism meant like universal health care and welfare and a large state and shit like that.
like Cenk Uygur.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, like I've always been somewhat anti-authoritarian, but it sort of grew over time as I learned more and read more on the history of civil and economic policies throughout the world, especially, and like and like even when I was a kid, like a lot of like Cold War Cold War propaganda and anti-communist hysteria seemed ridiculous to me, even when even when I was something of an anti-communist myself.
I don't know if I was ever specifically anti-communist, but there was a point where I thought that it was like an idealist pipe dream, and I made fun of people for thinking that it was possible. And
yeah, well,
we have a shit lore that says commies don't have food. Motherfucker, I just ate. Sorry.
Also, I'm taking little bites out of my sandwich right now. So
in anarchist Catalonia, there was actually increase of agricultural production, like in some places, like 60%. So yeah, shut up.
Bam.
Yeah, and
wow.
yeah, and I'm of Iberian and French descent. We have some of the finest food in the world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I really like my Mexican food, but I'm more of a Chinese and Chinese and Thai food person though. Like I really love like the Asian food.
Yes, me too. Like literally, I'm not a big fan of traditional American food except American breakfast food. I think pancakes are the shit. I love
Hummus.
Yes.
My mom can relate to that. Yeah, my mom. Yeah, my mom fucking loves Asian food.
Yes.
And I don't know if you can tell, but like I actually have some Asian blood.
Well, white people are of Asian descent, to be honest, though, to be fair.
That's true. That's true, but a lot of white people don't know that.
Also, fun fact, white people aren't indigenous to Europe, or so-called white people.
Like, white people aren't really indigenous to anywhere. like even in the areas of the Middle East they come from, they're still a minority.
Yeah.
Especially like after the Ottomans came and basically wiped out a lot of the Aryans, like the real Aryans, like not the fucking like not the fucking like not the fucking Nordicized Nazi bullshit propaganda versions. Like the like the real Aryans, for the most part, like they didn't have like they didn't like for the most part, like they didn't have like full on blonde hair. Like they had more like sandy brown hair in a lot of cases, and they tended to have like green eyes and green blue eyes, like not the fucking sky blue eyes like Nazi propaganda tended to depict. So yeah, like and yeah, like that's another thing I tend to like rant about quite often, like the way that like the way that the Nazi that the Nazi propaganda bullshit version of Aryans like comes up in search results more often than the actual historical Middle Eastern Aryans. I find that very shitty and very like depressing.
Oop, we just got 6 thumbs down. Some shitlords came in there by I put him on timeout.
Well, whatever. If you want to come in here and try to...
someone put cack. Is that... He better not be a fucking like not like old writers, or I'm gonna fucking ban that fucker.
Yeah, not everybody who says Keck is an alt-righter. That's just from like World of Warcraft, but unfortunately a lot of them are who do say that. So
true, like Winter does say Keck a lot, or
yeah,
I remember she did a few times.
Right, but I mean, if they're downvoting it, it's pretty safe to say that they probably are.
Like Winter has like Winter's kind of like weird. Like she's kind of in that weird like gray area between like SJW and kind of semi almost shitlordish, but not exactly.
Yeah, she had a weird reaction to my cis people shut the F up video.
Oh, I didn't see that, so I don't know if I could comment on that, but
yeah, and Winter also like the thing is I'm not the best
by Winter we're talking about the anarchist spectacle, just in case.
Yeah, like Winter or anarchist spectacle, like one time I was trying to give her directions to my new address, and I was still like getting used to the new address, and so I kind of said the wrong address, and she like blew up at me and called me an ableist slur.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not cool. But I don't know. I don't know if we should be talking about this live. Maybe we should be. This is probably like a private thing we should hash out. Maybe.
Yeah, we shouldn't be eating ourselves, according to use the right-wing terminology.
Right. But I mean, a lot of, you know, that's not cool that happened. But a lot of people in their past lives have like, especially if you're into like social justice, have done like hurtful things or like said hurtful things. So I don't know. I would hope that she would like apologize for that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, but at any rate, it's so what is it? We've been doing this for about an hour and almost 45 minutes now. So I probably actually like better get going because I do have some things I have to do. But I have enjoyed this talk definitely. And thank you for having me on. I'm sorry I was a little late. My computer, for some reason, like my internet, when I try to connect here, it often takes me like several times to like connect. So. But I'm glad I managed to get it to work.
You know where we talked a little early, so we kind of were on it a little early, so you're right on time.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, thank you for having me.
Okay.
All right, see y'all.
Thanks for coming, Kathleen.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.